Hi there. We all have to make decisions throughout our lives. Big, small decisions like, what should I wear today? Or big decisions like, should I marry this person? You and I both know the shame and the disappointment we feel in ourselves when we've made a wrong decision. Join me in this video as I talk about what you could do when making big decisions to ensure that those decisions are good, but also authentic to you. So the biggest decision I've ever had to make was whether I should marry my husband. I remember feeling anxious and a bit afraid because it was a big decision. I remember talking to a friend of mine about it because I wanted to just have a place where I can air my thoughts and share my concerns. And in that conversation, I realized that actually I was not afraid of marrying my husband because of the person who he is, but rather what was worrying me or making me a bit anxious was the circumstances surrounding the marriage. Marrying my husband would have meant that I would have to relocate to a new country yet again. If you remember, I had moved already from one country, from my home country, Kenya, to the UK, and then it would have meant that I would have to relocate to Germany. And that meant that I would have to learn a new language, that I would have to start a new life altogether. And I was really concerned about whether I was going to be successful at it. Was I going to be able to learn the language and work in Germany? Everything worked out just fine. And it's one of the best decisions that I ever made. But what my friend did for me was actually give me space to articulate my fears and articulate the consequences of marrying my husband. And that's what you need when you're making a decision. You need to be able to really take time. And this is a big thing. Don't rush into any decision. Take time, think about what are the consequences of this decision. Does this decision actually align to my values? Does it align to my higher goals? Does it align to the person who I am? And one of the best ways we can actually articulate our thoughts and find out our motives for actually wanting to do what we want to do, making that decision, is talking to someone else. Because if you have a good listener, a person who's a good listener, they will ask you questions. And these questions reveal your thought patterns or your motives behind wanting to make that decision. The most important thing here is to actually pick someone who means well with you. So when you're making big decisions, you just don't want to ask any Tom, Dick and Harry about your decisions. You need to be able to pick someone who means well with you, someone you can trust, and someone who also makes good decisions with their own lives. So don't go asking people who they've made really bad decisions throughout their lives to give you advice, because they're likely going to give you bad advice. When you're talking to them, the whole idea is not to just tell them and then they make the decision for you. No, the responsibility for the decision is your responsibility. So actually what you're looking for is they ask you questions, and this helps you dig deeper into your own motives, but also to listen carefully to why they say you should make that decision or not make that decision, and see if what they say really resonates with you. Because sometimes people might have well-meant advice, but the advice is actually not good for you. Or in fact, when they're talking, you can just sense in yourself if what they're saying really is true to who you are. If you don't have someone who you can talk to about your decision, what you could do is get a coach, for example. If you have the financial means to do that, because they will offer you a neutral place where you can talk about your concerns or if you should make a certain decision. If you don't have the financial means to get a coach, then what you could do is actually write a pros and cons list. So on this list, you write down the reasons why you should make that decision or reasons that speak against that decision. So you start a list and you just write them down, and then you read that out loud for yourself. And that really is useful, because what you're doing there is actually articulating your thoughts as well and your motives behind that decision and the consequences that will follow from making that decision or not making that decision. Another thing you could do is actually talk to God about it. I know you might say, I'm not a religious person, But here's a secret. God is not only available for religious people, He's available for everyone. So anyone and everyone can talk to God about concerns or about big decisions that they're facing. There's something about talking to God about the decisions that we're facing that helps us make less egocentric decisions, but also decisions that are good for us and good for everyone around us. So try that. Try talking to God. So you can actually do all these things. You can, first of all, write a pros and cons list just for yourself so that you can actually articulate why you should make that decision or not. Then you could talk to a trusted person about your decision or your concerns concerning that decision, whether you should make it or not. Then you could talk to God about it and see how He or she responds to you. The most important thing is don't rush. Don't make any hurried decisions because they can ruin your life. One single decision can either change our lives for the better or for the worse. So take time. Don't be rushed by anyone into making any decision, and don't rush yourself into making any decision that is big and could have big implications in your life. Apply these principles the next time you're making a decision, and I can assure you that you're going to make good decisions more often. If you find this video helpful, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Feel free to ask me questions on the comment section. You can also share with me and our community other principles that you've applied in the past that have been helpful to you while making decisions. I'm happy to hear from you.